booster ignition, and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and The Bean universe. Lesbo and The Bean. LATB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and The Bean.
Welcome back, episode 178. We got a pay-per-view on our hands. UFC 234.
Does it feel like a pay-per-view?
And I was about to say, if I wouldn't have said that, this could have been a fight night. This could have been Fox Fight Night.
It would have been a strong fight night. Both fights in the co and main are worthy enough for a pay-per-view. The rest of the card's just lacking.
I would agree 100%, and I'm glad you took us there this early into the night because it is true. It's going to be a rough one as far as bets come on. Just like last week, there's going to be a lot of people with minuscule records in there, limited footage, limited experience, and that's going to play out. Luckily, we have 9 more weeks of fights after this, so might not want to cash the entire
Will we ever
check.
get UFC 233?
From what I've heard, we skipped it. It's gone.
I think that should be, for the hardcores, that's our inside joke.
Oh, greatest UFC pay-per-view of all time.
Yeah,
233?
like, that's the thing
that's
go with.
A great call.
I think that we throw Artem Lobov, that was his last
Artem
fight.
Lobov's finale fight in the UFC fight.
You know, the GOAT is somewhere on there, somewhere he was on the main event.
Where he beat CM Punk.
And we always will add to that card. No matter what fight that will be like, you never saw GSP Anderson Silva, you should have got UFC 233.
Back in the day.
Yeah, we'll always put something weird on it. We'll be like, oh, what? Ronda Rousey versus Bones? You missed the shit. UFC 233.
Stuff that doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't even.
Hermes Franca versus Dan Severn, UFC 223. It was unbelievable.
You're like, oh my gosh, Sam Alvey won by armpit fart. That is crazy. UFC 233.
That's a good one. That is Smiling Sam's notary win.
You're like, best rev of the night? That was Yamasaki's best night.
Yeah, the first time he got it right.
Mizugaki's best night. UFC 233.
UFC 223 sponsoring UFC
233.
2.
I've said it wrong.
3-4.
You said it right. Oh yeah, we're on 234.
234 out of Australia. Where is this out of? Melbourne?
Is there any other gossip?
Well,
or we'll just talk about it as we get through.
I think we can get through it as we get through. Nothing that was too immediate to get through other than some of our favorite managers in the game have apparently been getting poisoned as of late.
Oh yeah, what's that all about? Ali Abdelaziz.
He recently went on the book saying that he was in the hospital twice for being poisoned 2 separate times. I wouldn't know why someone might be poisoned. They might be a bad person or have dealt with people that were really shady and bad people as well. And that's what happens in that community. And maybe you knocked them all out to the FBI and immigration and they're seeking vengeance on you. Because that's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Do you think he has a taster like Queens and Kings where they have somebody try their food?
It's probably Frankie Edgar.
Cejudo.
The toughest man in the world, Frankie Edgar. That's why his chin's getting weak.
He has an answer. Ali is a manager for everyone.
A lot of people.
He's talking shit about T. Woods.
What I think with Ali and what he's done is...
I think he's Usman's manager.
Yes.
So we got him the fight over Colby. We've talked about that on the show. Cejudo's manager.
Yes.
Khabib's manager.
As well.
I mean, tons, but I was just trying to think
way more. Those are the marquees. What I think he does...
I feel like 120 of the fighters or something on the roster. It's something crazy.
It's a big amount. I couldn't tell you the specific number, but it might be over that 100 mark. Either way, what he does as a manager is Malky Kawa, a couple of these other guys will have one interview a year where Ali Abdelaziz is literally on the MMA Hour every single week. I hear this.
That is true.
Like, he's the manager who's just always constantly talking about it. And he's also notoriously had back dealings with the UFC where he's bailed them out of spot by giving some of his fighters disadvantageous fights.
You know, you
just to
said
save the
something
show.
just now, and I have a future prediction. Ali Abdelaziz is going to be like a Don King. He's going to overcome Dana. He'll be able to promote his own thing soon. If he's on the MMA Hour all the time and slowly gaining UFC credibility, MMA credibility, ends up with this huge roster. He has rosters in UFC, Bellator, One, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. He could have a lot of power right now. An underground power, you know? You never know the guys that are really in charge.
Very, very true. But from the...
Kelvin
as well. One...
Gastelum, who we're going to talk about later.
If this guy's already having issues...
Zabit.
Correct. If there's anybody already having issues now, I just don't think that the third poison and he's going to get through it. It ain't going to stop. If he's been poisoned twice in the last couple of months because he told somebody on the MMA Hour, isn't going to protect you.
Okay, you want me to go through some fighters?
Some of them, because he's got a big roster.
Okay. Well, I hope they don't put people on here that don't matter. Frankie Edgar.
Love it, yes.
Khabib Nurmagomedov. Renzo Gracie.
Ooh, yep.
Henry Cejudo.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Garbrandt.
That makes sense. I remember that.
Justin Gaethje.
Yep.
Kelvin Gastelum. Kamaru Usman.
Mm-hmm.
Rashad Evans.
Interesting.
Fabricio Verdum. And he's trying to get out of his contract.
And he's helping him. He's asking him.
Kablabov. Brad Tavares.
Makes sense.
Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Rumble's making his KBK debut. He officially signed his contract. Bare Knuckle Boxing Championship League.
Announcing though, right?
Is it announcing?
I think it's announcing.
Oh, I didn't read the full article.
Yeah, it's some
I
bullshit.
just saw him with fighting and I'm
bullshit.
like, hell yeah, Anthony Johnson, you about to murder some fools. Oh, they got me. God dang it, bloody elbow.
Benil Dariush.
Okay.
Derek Brunson. Ray Borg.
Interesting.
Neiman Gracie. Rafael Natal. Omar Ahmedov.
Uh-huh.
Zabit Magashar.
I was waiting for Zabit.
Al Hassan.
Mm-hmm.
Salikov. David Branch. Ryan LaFleur.
Wow.
Jake Shields. Makachev. Ali. Nurmagomedov. Other one.
Yep.
The first lady that I'm seeing, Juliana Lima, which is kind of odd,
Interesting.
right?
She's a contender. She's a contender.
Let's see if anybody else is starting to get. I mean, there's tons. So Gilbert Burns, Magomedov, Kaliev,
Wow.
Hark Parast. I mean, like,
Those are the top names.
I'm not
regardless.
even. Yeah, it's
All
like
those
I can just
fighters
keep
are legit.
scrolling and I'm not reading any names, and then anywhere I stop, I'm like Sinjara Eubanks, which. Look who got that title fight all of a sudden and they got it yanked. It's like...
Because she didn't make weight.
Joe Duffy, Vincent Luque, Belil Muhammad.
Loving all those names. I don't think there's a name on there that I'm like, oh, that's a bad fighter.
There's other ones I didn't read, but I'm sure they're awesome too. I was just like, dang, that's a lot of power, man.
Dang. I wonder how long Frankie Edgar can hold on being his poison tester for.
That's the answer forever.
So we get into the pay-per-view. While we are here, we got a big breakdown underway. 12-card bout coming out of Melbourne, Australia. This is going to start off with the 135ers. The beginning of the night starts off with Chinese fighter Wei Jing Buren versus Jonathan Martinez. Both of these fighters have fought in the UFC. They're still fairly fresh in the UFC. Martinez losing his debut against Ocampo at the decision 3 months ago. That was a short notice bout for Martinez. Against Van Buren's 2-fight losing streak, he's actually 11-6, and he has had a few fights in the UFC, 2 of them to be exact, losing both of them to Rolando D and Chito Vera. That Chito Vera fight, not that unexcusable. A lot of people saw what was coming. Chito's just on the next level. That D fight, Rolando died.
Was the Cheeto fight on short notice as well?
It was. I believe Chito stepped in on short notice and all of a sudden was the favorite in that fight. Rightly so. Chito came through. I actually watched that fight just to do my little tape study. And Buren has a good gas tank, has a good left hand, throws it down the middle. But when he backs up, he backs straight up. And then after the second round, Buren's gas tank starts to go. His opponents do dig to the body well, but Buren doesn't move his head off the center line that well. And then his defense on shots and ground scrambles are really limited. And that's where I feel like the path to victory against Buren is going to be every single time. D was able to win that via standing striking, which means Buren's striking is also just not up to bar. This is just a Chinese fighter who hasn't really gone anywhere. I don't know where he's training out of right now, if he's at that alpha male spot, because I know Jackson Wink and alpha male get these guys going. But what I saw even in the Chito fight 5 months ago, you get this guy to the ground and you can really start to have your way with him. He has all right defense, but what happens on the ground with Buren is that he starts to gas. Once he gets up off of the ground once or twice, you can see his striking and movement really be hurt. So Martinez, even though he came in short notice against something like that, he was outstruck. He's got the good striking on the ground is where he really likes to make his money. He's long on the ground, has good transitions, good shots, and good on his scrambles. I just see him taking this fight to the ground, and I actually have Martinez submission round number 1 or 2. If I can see what Buren's bad at, I feel like everyone else can too. Martinez also has way higher competition level that Buren's never had. Now that Buren's in the American or actual scene out of China, he's definitely probably his final fight in the UFC. I got Martinez submission round number 2 to start off the night. How do you feel about this one?
I'm going to stay far, far away from it. I think it could go either way. I think Buren being the, well, I guess he's just a slight underdog, plus 150. I think he could actually pull this out. I think it should be an even fight. Neither guy's really shown anything yet in the UFC, and losing to Cheeto is never that big of a deal in my opinion. I think he's always an underrated guy, plus on a short notice fight. Martinez, he hasn't done anything to impress me either. I think they're going to stifle each other when it comes to... But I haven't... The gas tank, you're right with Buren. Martinez's might be a little better. Martinez decision at best. Otherwise, I think Buren could sneak it out. But I'm going to stay away from it.
Lesbo tends to stay away from these. It's usually a good call. Last weekend, Bibliatov being 9,400 didn't pay off. If we would have followed Lesbo's rule there, we would have been fine on a lot of our cards.
I went the other way on the show. I wish I listened. Did listen back to the show, and you just make a good point sometimes. And the Bibliatina, didn't we think that he won that? Was that the fight we actually thought he won? But he lost to the Brazilian.
That one was close. It was close, actually.
Even though they had it to blow out Bibliatov, to blow it out, it didn't happen that way. But I feel like he might have gotten robbed.
He also broke his foot at the beginning of the first round, which I've now found out. But
oh, shit.
That does change it a little bit. Either way for him. Either way, getting back to these guys, we're not going to see those 9,000 range. Martinez is 8,500 on DraftKings against Buren's 7,700. I'm going to probably stay away from this. If I have any exposure at all, it'll probably be on Martinez's side. But for 8-5, he has to get a finish quick in there. And I do think Buren can put up a fight at the very least. I'll probably stay away from that fight on the DraftKings fairly well. Moving on to the 155-pounders, we have a lightweight bout between Jalen Turner against debuting Callan Porter, the local Australian, is fighting with a 17-7 record, coming off of his last split decision win. The only competition he's actually fought of caliber is Marcin Held, and he ended up getting heel hooked, which happens to everyone against Marcin Held. But Marcin Held also is not UFC caliber, hence him having a 3-and-go out of here. The fact that Porter's coming off of a split decision, to me, is telling me that there's a couple other guys on the card. They needed a short notice replacement. They needed someone locally to just be on there, and Porter is that guy. Because what the tape that I saw on him, he throws 1- and 2-punch strike combinations. He'll throw a right high kick, but it's just the kick. He doesn't set it up. He just throws it. His head is on a straight line when he moves in and out. His gas tank's okay, and his scrambles on the ground are admirable, but they're not technical. He just kind of tends to roll around down there. Against Jalen Turner, who's 7-4, he got thrown in against the Wolves, having a short notice fight against Vicente Luque and suffering badly for it. Actually, that's right.
Yep,
against
right.
Vinsuke 3 months ago, it was a gnarly knockout. It was a short notice replacement. Turner did have a bit of experience off of the Contender Series, but that was just too big of a step up. Potter is way more on Turner's level. With Jalen Turner, his issues, I mean, he's a great striker, great knees, good clinch, Muay Thai stylist. MMA fighter, he's a little bit limited. As far as his takedown defense, you can really see off of his back, Turner isn't a good submission guy. He can get to guard, but he can't really stop a high-level guy. Potter isn't that guy. Potter is as journeyman as they come on the local level from what I was seeing. I just see Turner piecing him apart standing. The takedowns that Potter throws or shoots shouldn't, even though Turner doesn't have good takedown defense, the caliber of fighter he's automatically been exposed to is just such more leaps and bounds. I got Turner TKO round number 2. I think the toughness of Porter keeps him in there, but I don't think he's UFC caliber. I'm going to probably be heavy on Turner. I don't like, though, 3 months ago, Luque knocked this dude out. Out. I don't think Potter's quick enough, even though, to hit him when he needs to. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
Not only do I not like at all that it was a brutal KO 3 months ago, 3 months, and we saw this happen every single time we see a guy take a fight short notice because for whatever reason, once you go to Australia, no time frame matters. Michael Bisping getting knocked out by Kelvin Gastelum. Like, you can get, like, no time frame matters at all. I don't know if this fight would have been cleared in a lot of other places. Is 3 months enough? I don't know. In my opinion, it's not. I also don't like that he fought up at 170 pounds against a bigger guy. I don't know if he had to make any kind of cut at all. And so I don't know what kind of cycle his body's in. Then he flies all the way to Australia to do this against a hometown guy that has nothing to do but win. I see him getting a first round knockout here. He is better than Potter everywhere. But if Potter even shows a little bit of gas tank or grind ability and pulls his, like, inner eternal strength. Yeah, and he's a local guy that he makes it through the first round. All of a sudden, Jalen Turner's cashed. He has arms of rubber, and he gets taken down and grinded out for the remainder of the match. I think the number's a little bit off here. I'm going to put him on some cards because I do see a fast finish, but he hasn't shown me enough in the UFC. I like to stay with what I know, and I just don't like the 3 month thing. If it was 5 months ago, I would have an entirely different opinion of this card. But 3 months, I'm like, you can get caught. Your gas tank can be weird. Travel time can make your gas tank weird.
You're dehydrated. Because you're 6'3", cutting down to 155 pounds.
I don't know. And I do see a fast finish. I just don't think this isn't the mountain you want to die on yet. This is not the guy you want on all 85% of your cards.
Ooh, I don't know. I could see him being highly owned as far as a lot of people having exposure to Turner. Maybe you do stay away from this one a little bit. I like what you're saying with Potter because Potter is that grindable guy. He does have that in the tank. He was outclassed in matches that I saw, and he won with guts and glory. I like what you're saying here. Ooh, Turner, we got to watch weigh-ins for Turner. I think you have very, very valid points. 8,700 for the minus 325 favorite. Jalen Turner against 7,500 for the debuting Potter. I am going to probably still put, out of the two, by far, it's going to be Turner.
I don't see myself really putting Potter anywhere. I just am reminding myself to not put Turner everywhere. That's a good call.
That'll probably save us more than anything. I like what you're saying. Fans, if you're listening, that's solid advice. It does tend to save us. We should have a televised DraftKings throughout the night as well. So there's a little bit of different options. Maybe we can actually talk about that because I don't see anyone ever talk about just the main event cards as far as how you play them.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. But you know what else? Nobody goes through every card.
True.
They don't talk about the beginning guys. They talk about the guys with name only. It's kind of bogus.
So you're welcome.
What up?
On to another 155-pound bout. We have Lando Groovy Venata coming in against Marco debuting Rosa, the Talisman himself, or is he the Daliman?
The
Gastelum?
Yeah, that's closer.
Oh.
Dalsum.
The 6'4" Brazilian fighter is 32 years old. He's a big underdog, obviously. Lando Venata's fought nothing but high-level competition at 155. And Rosa's coming off of a win off of the Brazilian. It wasn't even the Brazilian Contender Series fight. This was one of those guys that I ended up watching tape. And then,
it's a Street Fighter character. Does that help at all?
oh, is
The guy
it?
with the yellow pants and the red head?
Yes. Is that what is that, his name?
I thought you would just know it by that. You'd be like, oh,
I want to say Papa Chongo, but that's a wrestler.
no, it's Dalsum. It's
Dalsum.
yeah.
Dalsum.
Well, however, it's Dalsum, but it's however it's. Let me see if I can find a pronunciation.
Well, this Brazilian fighter was hard to find tape on because he goes by 6 different names, as we know with these Brazilians. Then I finally started watching.
I was a Mortal Kombat. I wasn't a Street Fighter.
I liked them all, but I was bad at names. Always bad at the specific names.
Johnny Cage, Sonya, Sub-Zero,
The debuting fighter,
Dalsum. I don't know what his fucking name is at all.
is limited striking on the ground. Well, his striking is where he likes to make his money. Looping punches, not that much power. Tries to stay off the ground if he can on the ground. He's limited against Vannata. He's better everywhere. He's better striking. May not have as much power, but with a 6-4 record out of Brazil, that's not where they are known to pad records. It's really bad that you have not almost a 50-50 record. I don't know why the UFC's flying him all the way out here other than to give Groovy Landa a win. I feel like it's a setup fight. I got a finish round number 2. Actually, I'm moving that to round number 1. I think one of those spinning hook kicks. I mean, there's not really much to break down. Rosas is really that bad. This is some of that really low-level competition. And sorry to say, it's not the absolute worst. It's one of the worst. It's bad. And this guy doesn't deserve to hold a candle next to Lando Vannata. It should show in there. I'm going to put Vannata everywhere. A lot of people are, I think. Who do you have in this fight?
I like this because even if Landau, for whatever reason, Rosa stays alive with him in there, Landau points it up. He goes... When has Landau ever been in a boring fight?
True.
He goes to decision every time. I think his record's kind of bullshit because half of those fights you could have been easily argue that he won them.
Title contenders.
He's a guy that if I'm the UFC, I don't give a shit about his record. I want to keep him around because he has exciting fights every time he steps in the octagon, and he brings 15 minutes of pain. I don't think he's going to bring 15 minutes this time. He'll probably only need to bring 3.5. I do have him to finish this in round 2. I think the other guy will decide on his stool that he does not want to do this anymore, and when he gets back in for round 2, Landau will pick him apart because I just don't see Vannata not owning every single aspect of this fight. I just picture him getting takedown after takedown after takedown until Rosa's kind of tired. I couldn't even get him a submission. I could see, I could see ground and pound, but I just think Landau's going to just own it so far everywhere. He's going to play a game, and it'll be what he feels like doing.
I do think we are going to see a clinic in there. Lando Vannata, 9,300 on DraftKings against the 6,900 for Marcos.
2 draws with Bobby Green. Did he pop for something, Bobby Green? Bobby Green!
No, it was a legitimate draw. On the scorecards.
Okay, so we're not going to go with draw this time because, draw's that real money. Draws that real money if you think it's coming, but we don't think it's going to happen this time. Vannata's going to own this one everywhere. And I agree with you. You put him on a lot. You put him on almost everything.
Almost 90%. Never going to be 100 anywhere anymore, but you're on the 90, 85% of cards. Vannata's going to go on there for 9-3. There's other spots where you're going to put cheaper fighters. This is who you're paying up for this night, I feel like. It's Vannata in this mismatch. I mean, the betting's favorite as well. Minus 325. There's some real discrepancies in skill and talent. It's really interesting.
What's the number on DraftKings?
9,300 for Vannata.
Okay.
Against 6,009 for Marcos.
I think that's right. And usually I don't think it's that high.
Yeah. It's worth it. Then we're going to go to the 135-pounders where we have Terento Ishihara versus Kyung Hyo Kang. Mr. Perfect's coming in there against Wasabo. The 10-6 fighter, alpha male prodigy, Ishihara has really come in and let a lot of people down. He's been the odds-on favorite many a times and come up short many a times. His real only win is against Rolando Dai, who is no longer in the UFC. We have other fighters who lost to him on this card. That's how low of a record we have. But either way, Ishihara is coming off of a 2-fight losing streak to Quinones and Peter Yan. TKO 7 months ago. Ishihara, we know what he brings. A heavy left hand, and that's it. His wrestling is defensive, and it's only reactionary. Ishihara doesn't use his wrestling offensively at all. He doesn't shoot takedowns. And then once his power's gone, which is after 3 minutes in the first round, Ishihara just holds on and looks almost Griffin-y in there. How you're saying he looks loose. I feel like Ishihara does the same thing. Like all of a sudden, his legs feel wobbly even though he doesn't really get hurt. It's just the exhaustion really shows on him. And that'll also tend to help lose him the fight. Kang, though, also having a 14-8 record. He's coming off of a loss to Ricardo Ramos in a split decision 5 months ago. He's gotten a couple wins in there against Guido Canetti, Michinori Tanaka, and Simsiu, who is no longer in the UFC. He has losses against Chico Camus decision. Kang comes in as a brawler, one-dimensional, just kind of MMA fight. Well, I guess you can't be one-dimensional and an MMA fighter.
That's true. Unless you're a bitch. Blah, 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 blah.
Needed it. But Kang is more a brawler. He's well-rounded everywhere, but he doesn't really blow you out. Doesn't have tons of power, has a good right hand, pistons it out there, but his gas tank tends to show in there. It tends to be more in the third round. So I see Ishihara more winning the first round and Kang winning the last two. The thing that I don't like about Kang is that when he does start to tire, his hands really hang down by his hips and he gets hit more in the third round than ever. And Ishihara has that type of power where he loops it from his hip and it's a bad punch, but he just puts so much weight in it, it'll knock you out. I'm not going to play this fight a lot, even though Kang is the huge favorite here. I do see Kang winning a decision, but it's one that's going to be a little sweaty for me. I see Kang winning a decision. I think the line's off. I think minus 400 or 450, 430 is way too much.
I agree with you on everything that you have said. The only thing that could go wrong is what you're saying as well. I just see Kang being a guy that he just reminds me of like that kid in school. He always had his pencils. He always was prepared. He always like sat down before the bell rang, always raised his hand before he spoke. And then Ishihara seems like the kid never showing up on time, being loud as hell, just very...
Hanging out with Andre Feely.
It's just that way that unconventionality sometimes can beat somebody that's too conventional. Ishihara can catch Kang off guard here and do something weird and hurt him enough not to win the fight, but to win rounds. This fight is a stay away.
Agreed.
I think it's going to be boring as hell. I think the line's way off. Even though I have Kang winning a decision here, this is a weird fight for me. This is a really odd fight.
It's one that I'm out of a night that I'm like, ooh, don't expose yourself to this fight. This is totally one of those. I completely agree. Line is off. I might put a couple prop bets on Ishihara inside the distance randomly just because it's going to have tons of value on it. But yeah, for 9,400, Kang has to get Ishihara out of there in the first round. And I don't see that necessarily happening. I know people are saying, oh, Peter Yan. Well, Kang isn't a Peter Yan. So It's a completely different fight. 6,800 for Ishihara. I could see myself exposing a little bit. Just like 50, not even 50, 20% of my cards just have Ishihara because...
A couple of cheap cards.
Right?
I agree with you.
He'll give you the amount so you
I
can
don't see myself putting Kang anywhere. I actually think Ishihara can survive this onslaught. Is that nuts? I think he can survive this. Even
at Ishihara at 6,800 in a decision loss is worth every cent.
I agree. And he's just a wild guy. He just
counterplay. I'm just saying you got to be contrarian.
This is
to
a
win
weird
some of these
fight.
tournaments.
This is a weird.
This is the option where you're like, where we're telling you, hey, this is the type of stuff where you're either going to get cash because you might have the winner, or you're going to get all of it because no one's going to have Ishihara.
If you play this,
and it gets
you have to go onto Amazon and get yourself some truck balls. Because you got balls of steel. Because this is the one that if Ishihara cashes or wins or knocks out second heel hook in the second round, something kooky, I I even think he can keep the better cardio. I know that.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that one.
I know.
Now you're getting ridiculous.
I know. I know. So. He's just, yeah. I don't know. This is the one that a winner if he wins, the top card has him on it.
Agreed. That's what I'm saying. This is a guy who will win the tournament for you if you have him on there. The thing is, he could also shit in bed.
Yeah, it's not the mountain you want to die.
On to the 125 pounders. We have Kai Kara France coming in, local New Zealander, against debuting Raylan Pavaya. This is the UFC Contender Series fighter who won via split decision in Brazil 5 months ago and is now debuting in Australia. That should be all I have to say about what they think about this guy. Kai Kara France is on a 2-fight winning streak, coming off of a good showing in the UFC's. Did he win the UFC show? Because it's not showing up here, but he was on one of those seasons. He might have lost, but he came in winning a decision over Elias Garcia. He's a striker. Really high outputs coming out of that Adesanya camp with all those city kickboxing guys. He's going to be on that all or nothing crew of guys.
Why isn't it the Daniel Hooker camp?
You know why. Ask Edson Barbosa why. But Kai Kara France comes in with good striking, great ground game, great cardio, good setups on his traps, and the 10-1, or is that what, 18-1 Brazilian fighter is 23 years old. The split decision that he just won was a grueling fight at a competitor level that was very, very low. The takedowns that I saw from this young man were grab under both hooks and try to drag you down. A lot of outside trips. His outside trips weren't good because he almost pulls the opponent on top of himself instead of out into the side. Either way, the striking wasn't there as well. He left his arms out when he reached with his punches, and when he threw his 2-in-1 punch combination, he wouldn't get his hands back as fast as I would like. He is long and tall for the division at 5'8", but I mean, everywhere Kai Kara, this is as set up as a fight. This, to me, makes more sense at that minus 450 than what Ishihara was showing in there. I just see France everywhere. I got a TKO round number 2. I don't see Rayland winning a round in there. I think this is a low-level guy. I think he actually could go 2 or 3 and out. And Kai Kara France is on a big upswing. I'm surprised off of a win he's getting another debut fighter. I would have thought that they were giving him a premier, another guy who off of a win.
Do you think they're building like a New Zealand prospect by letting him have like a few merkings?
I totally could see that. And this is one of those merkings. I'm going to expose myself everywhere, especially for 9,000 against the 7-2 for the debuting Raylan. I see Kai Kara France finishing this in the second round, if not the first. I just see him outmatching everywhere. He throws with conviction, and I see the Brazilian is going to want to go to the ground, and Kara France is great on the ground, especially when he's hurt. He was hurt against Garcia a few times and was able to finally score him out of there, but he really took over and beat the daylights out of the Pettis cousin. Remember that one?
Yeah, that is true.
And I would say that guy would beat Rayland by far. I'd put Elias against...
Really? I
would, yeah. Yeah.
See, I just don't think Raylan really has a padded record. He's been in there against guys with real records.
5-5 records,
and,
yeah.
I like Kara France here. I just like him by decision. I do think he keeps his hands busy the entire time. So I think he could get some points here. I'm not going to put him everywhere. This fight is a little nerve-wracking to me, even though I feel like the number's kind of on. I think Kara France should be that big of a favorite. I do see him winning every round.
Kai Kara France on the booking lines is minus 290, 3-1 favorite over the plus 230.
I guess I'm giving the kid, the 23-year-old, I think he can be a punching bag for 15 minutes. That's it. I'm not seeing that he's going to lay out points.
So even on DraftKings, though, isn't that a ton of points? for 9,000 against the 9,400 we just saw for Kang.
I think you're right on with that. I think that could be a good one.
A substitute for 9,000.
It's a good one to play on your 630 card, because we were just talking about the 2 cards for DraftKings.
That's a great call. I totally agree. That is one that I think you should play a lot on that France side. And anything left with either of those guys? Any other options you might have on them? On to a profile fight. This is a sneaky one. We have a 145-pound bout between Austin Arnett versus Shane Young. Both of these fighters have fought in the UFC. 12-4 Shane Young is coming out of that city kickboxing scene. He came in and lost his debut on short notice against Alexander Volkanovski. A lot of people saw that coming. Last getting a win against Rolando Dai, TKO. A lot of people can't get Dai out of there. A lot of people had to decision him. He had like 3 or 4 decisions in a row, finally TKO'd. And Shane Young proved that he is a UFC fighter by getting Dai out of there. Austin Arnett, 16-5. The 27-year-old lost his Contender Series fight. Still got on a short notice fight against Cody Samhagen. Lost that. Then came in against Takeem Duadu, lost that, and finally got a win as of late via 2 months ago against Herberto Bandinay, who has really started to, well, we backed off of that Brazilian prospect a lot. But Arnett really got it together in that Bandinay fight. He really was throwing punches.
Bandinay just reminded me if you called him Banda-Gay. And I was watching something on YouTube and it just makes me laugh. Sugar Ray gets really mad if you call him Sugar Gay.
That is the truth.
It's so stupid. Sorry, that's so off topic. That's what I do. That's what I do.
Very Bishop of you, very Bishop.
Yeah.
But Arnett actually came together his last win decision over Bandinay, who isn't that good, but the body kicks were landing for Arnett. He was finally getting head movement. Gas tank started to look better and better. Bandinay really is that one-round type of fighter. But Arnett gave a good showing of himself there and really started to tighten up his game. Like what I'm starting to see from Arnett, he throws some looping haymakers, which throw his guys off, but he's worked on that. Unfortunately for him here, Shane Young, one of those city kickboxing guys, sets up great traps, has a good gas tank, tough as nails. If you go back and watch that Volkanovski fight, that's a decision. A lot of other guys would have quit in that second round. Young came out and got dropped again in the third round and got up and made a decision. Shane Young is a dog in there. And
that was one of the best fights of the year.
It was brutal. And that was like a week and a half's notice for Shane Young. Think of that.
No one thought against Volkanovski now.
He was a huge, like 4-1 favorite. Or underdog, I mean. But again, it's come in and D wasn't able to. It was elbows and punches. Elbows set that up. I think Young here gets it done. But why I think that this is going to be a fight of the night contender is that I don't think that Arnett just folds in there. I think that they get in a firefight and both of these guys have that ability. But in the firefight, I see the person winning the exchanges more often than not being Young in there. And I have Young in a decision right now.
Both guys are young.
They are both young. But I see this going to decision for Young. I could see also a TKO round number 2 or 3 for Young. I'm going to stay on decision right now, but I see this being a profile fight. I just think it's going to be a fun one. Technique might be a little out the door, more so for Arnett. But
and the later it falls, the more it's going to happen.
It's going to play in it for Young's mode. Yes. So I am going to try to put Young wherever I can because I think that this is going to be high output, fun fight. Who do you have in this fight in mind?
This should headline the prelims, first of all.
Totally agree.
It's going to be one for the ages, and I was mocking that I said both guys are young when you were saying young. But this is actually going to be the UFC card that is going to be the first on the highlight reel for a lot of greats. There is a lot of young kids on this roster that we're going to be watching for the next 10 years of this sport, and their legacy is going to start tonight. And some of them are going to be like Robert Whittaker, which will go down in the Hall of Fame somehow.
Already is.
And we're going to get to see Adesanya.
Maybe.
Yeah, but we'll talk about those when we get there. But I think that this is I think there's a lot of young guys on this, and this is just a really now I'm looking at it, and for Australia, they have high attendance, like
totally.
like
Record
UFC
setting.
sells in seconds, so it's not like they can fill it with a lot of young guys. They have a lot of passionate fans over there.
Totally agree.
So maybe we're shitting on it a little bit, but I think there's going to be some great fights, hungry fighters looking to prove themselves tonight.
I actually, even though there's a discrepancy, I feel like there's going to be a lot of finishes, which people tend to say finishes is a good night of fights. I like good competitions if it's a bunch of blowouts, but I see a kind of a bunch of blowouts in this. The further this specific fight gets, I see it turning into that. 9,100 on DraftKings for Young against the 7,100 for Arnett. I'm going to probably do like 60% Young.
I think Young is going to find, he's going to exploit the body by the end of round 3. I think that Arnett could make it to decision here, and I actually think for one of your underdog plays, if you're looking for one, or if you have a big, heavy, expensive card and you're debating on who to put under there that's cheap enough, Arnett might be your guy. I agree. I see Shane Young finishing it, but he's a guy that'll cut you by 1,000 cuts. I think that he saw the body of Arnett exploited before, and it takes a while to get in good with the guy's body in the UFC. A lot of them are really conditioned for this kind of stuff, so I think that this is going to be a great fight. I agree with you. FON contender. I do think Shane Young's going to do it. I do have him to figure it out by round 3. But I like Arnett here, not to win the fight, but as your guy, like if you just end up with a bunch of like an 8-7, 9-1, 9-2, heavy card, you need a skinny guy. Arnett's your dude, in my opinion.
And he ain't a skinny guy. He's thick.
No, I just mean skinny as in cheap.
As in cheap on the DraftKings line. I agree. If there's a contrarian play that's not going to hopefully get that 0 or 1 points that we were seeing last week, Arnett.
Maybe not on everywhere you don't put Shane Young, obviously.
Right.
But I almost think that this is the card that I could go 50-50 on, even on my DraftKings, because I think Shane Young's going to get those kind of points, but I think Arnett's going to surprise with how many points he gets.
I don't think that's a bad call. I don't think that's a bad call at all.
Window. Huh?
So, to the actual preliminary bout, and by the way, we were on Fight Pass for the first 3 cards, or the first 3 bouts, then we moved to ESPN.
What are you talking about? We're where?
The premiere fight of the prelims.
Fight Pass?
No,
is that how you say it? Fight Pass?
No, we're not. We're on ESPN now by this point.
But were we on Fight
We did
Pass?
3 bouts on Fight Pass that I forgot to talk about.
Oh.
The first 3 fights, I believe, are on Fight Pass.
What's this thing that you say Fight Pass?
I just see it on my bill statement.
I know. And we actually did see a good argument for why you went Fight Pass. There's a lot of other premier organizations on Fight Pass, so if you're a fan of Fight, then you should be a fan of Fight Pass. They have not only Eddie Bravo Invitational and some Flow Combat and some different jiu-jitsu, some Invicta. Argument said. So if you're a fan of Fight, you might be a fan of Fight Pass, and they don't even pay for this ad.
Not yet. Not till they get the bill.
I know. I'm going to be like, I'm going to charge him back. I charge you $9.99.
Backlog, yeah, exactly. Backlog, suckers. But the premier fight here is going to be not a debuting fighter. We're going to have both of these guys showed up. Dong Hugh Ma versus Devontae Smith. Smith coming in, winning his debut, being off of the Contender Series. He won his debut against Julian Rosas 2 months ago, TKO. Ma's coming in with a 16-8 record, 8-3 record. He's coming off of a 3-fight winning streak, beating Brendan O'Reilly, Takanori Gomi, who's no longer in the UFC and the most shot fighter ever, and Damian Brown split decision 11 months ago. The South Korean fighter, when he stepped up...
He surprised everybody with that.
Yeah.
He surprised everybody with that. Sorry.
He did. He was an underdog there, but when he's fought any guys with any type of power, Dominique Steele, who's no longer in the UFC, and Polo Reyes, he was finished in there fairly decisively. The 30-year-old loves to bang. These Korean guys, the Korean fighters, South Korean fighters, are so much fun, but they can throw caution into the wind sometimes, and it doesn't benefit them. We've seen it with a lot of guys. Woodley knocked a couple out by hitting him in the back of the head. Dong Hyu Kim, or even Reyes has finished a couple other Korean fighters because they'll put their head down and just keep on swinging. And that's what happens with Ma against heavy-handed strikers. And that's exactly what's happening with Smith. Ma will take a punch to give a punch and put pressure on you in order to back you up. He'll take you down, trying to use his judo off of the fence. He'll try to trip you. He's got good trips and stuff, but sometimes his closing of the distance, he just reaches, and a good striker is going to throw a right over the top and knock you out. The lower caliber guys aren't able to do that against Ma, but Smith is a higher caliber guy. Erosas, I would say, would be able to beat Ma in a close bout. That's going to be highly contested, but what we've seen from Smith is he has great Muay Thai, long, tall, amazing jab, switches stances, throws a lot of kicks, teeps, and front kicks up to the body. On the ground, we haven't seen tons, but we haven't seen it from Ma either. He more holds position. Smith can scramble. We haven't seen tons from him, but striking, there's such a big gap in levels of striking here. I feel like if Ma tries to bang at all, we've seen Smith really keep that distance range well, come in with a jab that hurts, literally hurts people, and then he follows it up viciously with elbows as well. I got Smith TKO round number 1. I just think Ma's a brawler in there against a technical striker. Smith, I'm eventually going to start a play against. I think he does have holes on the ground, but Ma doesn't have the type of game to be able to exploit that. Give me Smith for 8,600 on DraftKings. I'm not going to expose myself much to Ma at 7,600. Who do you have in this bout?
I have Smith, but I have questions. Do you think Smith gets worse as the fight goes on? I mean, everybody
does, sure.
Well, except Cowboy Cerrone.
Oh, good point. Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, so there's slow
There
status.
is other guys. It's cool.
Slow status.
I would
Foreplay.
I would say Smith is in a...
4-stroke, gang.
What champs? Smith is more of that, like, Muay Thai striker, Cerrone-esque. He doesn't come out and throw spinning back fist and flying knees. He bounces around, gets his range, and figures you out.
I have him to finish by round 2. I'm going to change it to round 1, and I like everything you're saying. I think you do put Devontae Smith everywhere. I think this might be a setup fight a little bit for
I agree.
devastation. So I almost understand how it's the lead-in now for the main card.
Because you're going to see someone go night-night.
Yeah, and the people in Australia are going to lose their shit before their pee break and the main card starts. Devontae Smith, you might be a superstar. I like everything about Devontae Smith. I think he's black explosive. But I like how you say that he's calculating as well.
He does. He pays attention in there. He's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage at 5'8". He's not that tall. Interesting. He is 3 inches shorter and has 6 inches more of reach on Ma.
That's tricky.
Does that
I think
make
that's
sense?
Tricky for a body to figure out.
Yeah, I would agree.
If you're Ma
as well.
punching down, no pun intended.
Ooh. So, if you haven't liked and subscribed, remember to hit that bell to get the notification. Follow us on Twitter at Zoltanite, at WeakNeckBaby, at Lesbo and The Bean.
And the Bean.
But we do have a pay-per-view underway. You're going to have to dish out some real cash here, and I don't know if I find it justified, honestly, because as you were saying before, you got 2 fights that you're willing to pay for.
What about if you get to see Smiling Sam? Not worth it?
That's a Fight Pass fighter right there.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. So...
Kroot!
We are going to have about a 205 pounds opening up on short notice. Smiling Sam stepping in against Jim the Brute Kroot. Kroot coming in and having a perfect 9-0 record, winning his Contender Series fight, and then him showing up on short notice and knocking out or submitting Paul Craig via submission. A lot of people thought Craig had the ground advantage there. Obviously, he did it. I believe, purple belt. I believe it's under Maurelio. No, I can't say it.
You can make it up. I won't know.
The guy with the one hand. I can't think of his name right now. But
Captain Hook.
Mauricio, I can't think of his dang name, and I'm sure I'm wrong on there. But the Brute
It was the guy who killed your wife, the one-armed man.
The one-armed bandit.
It was the one-armed man.
The Brute Crute is a purple belt out of his gym. He's a badass. He definitely has some good striking coming out of the Greco Stewie house. Don't know where that is, but I do know he's been over in the States because he fought that Contender Series fight, and I believe he's been at Top Team. I could be wrong there, but I do feel like Crute has ties. I mean, he's come to the States. But again, he's a purple belt under Marcelo Garcia. Marcelo Garcia, that's who it is. Smiling Sam, though, we know what he likes to do. He uses wrestling in reverse to keep it striking, throws an uppercut, left hand, nonstop. He's a counter striker, fairly rarely moves forward. When he does his best work, but he also keeps his chin up. He relies on his chin and that beautiful smile to take a punch in order for him to land one. And it's been working for a long time, but at 32 years old, against the 22-year-old Brute Crute, it's not going to be an easy one in here at all. Smiling Sam has a tendency to make fights boring. The Brute Crute, though, with his shots and his takedowns are good. I mean, I see Smiling Sam holding on to a style where the Brute Crute is that new breed at 22 years old, where he's good everywhere. I have the Brute Crute actually winning via submission round number 2. A lot of people can't take Smiling Sam down. I think Crute can, or he hurts him and then jumps on a guillotine. I'm sorry, Sam. You jumped in a little too early. I mean, he's going to fly across the country on essentially 2.5 weeks' notice and try to get it done in there. I think the odds are stacked against them. Give me Crute for the finish. Who do you have in there?
I don't like this fight for Sam Alvey at all. I don't like it for his career, his health, or anything. I almost think it's a setup, like he's going in there just to be a bullseye, and that's exactly what he's going to be. I want to give him the credit and think he's going to make it into round 2. I just don't see that happening. I feel like at this rate, if Noriega can just hit you on the button, Jim Crute is a real 205er. He's even a guy that I could see going up to heavyweight very easily and making a transition okay. He's just an enormous friggin' dude. Sam Alvey is not built that way, and I don't think he's built to take a punch at this level. On the other hand, arguing with myself, Sam Alvey's only exciting if he has someone coming at him. Jim Crute's going to be coming at him the entire time. He is a counter striker, but he's also a very boring fighter. If he stifles Jim Crute like a wet blanket, and I don't mean that in a wrestling term, I don't know what Sam Alvey does to a fight, but he is like a stick and spokes.
He stands in front of you and paws.
I think he like keeps you far enough away, but I wanted to say he moves out to, if he's fighting, like he moves out to his own right over and over again, so he's constantly circling outside the cage, kind of runs a little bit in a way that the fighter has to chase him. I feel like he's off his back foot a lot. He's going to be winded by the second round. I think I have Crute to knock him out in round 2. I think Sam Alvey just starts being an open mouth breather by then, and Crute has that kind of cardio. He's one of those big guys that's built proportionately. He has a killer physique at his shape. He's not going to get burnt out, and I think he's going to wear Sam Alvey out. I don't love this fight for Sam, but whatever, dude. Make your money. I like Smiling Sam. This is going to be an exciting fight. It's still, out of everything being said, the hardest fighter that Jim Crute's fought against.
This is true. This is a good point.
So, Crute, KO round 2.
8,300 for Crute against 7,900 for Sam Alvey.
I think you Crute.
I think you Crute everywhere, and I don't think you put Alvey anywhere. For 7-9?
I agree. You know what else we know about Sam? At best,
output.
33 punches.
Points, unless he knocks out, but you can't count on that anymore.
I don't even think 30 points. Yeah. I'm going with Jim Crute here.
Jim, the Brute Crute, for the win. This is the bout at 125 pounds that has me absolutely baffled that you're paying to watch this fight, because this could be buried on a Fox Fight Night early prelims, not even shown on freaking Fight Pass. This could be pre-Fight Pass car bout in Nadia Kasem versus Montana De La Rosa. Is it Montana? Montana?
Montana. I'm guessing it's Montana.
Right? Well, De La Rosa is coming in with a 9-4 record. She is the American at 23 years old, losing only one bout in the UFC off of the Contender Series. She lost a bout to Nico Montano in a decision, but has last won her debut in the UFC via armbar, and she also beat Rachel Ostovich via armbar 6 months ago as well. Ended up watching that. That was in the third round. De La Rosa comes in with wrestling credentials, as she is a nationally ranked wrestler who is living off of her credentials. Because if you would have never told me, if I would have never told you that she was a wrestler, you would have never freaking seen it.
Oh, no.
It is unbelievable to me that they're like, oh, all of her wrestling. She doesn't use it in there. And when she uses it, it's not good. It's not somebody that I would... It's not a Titiana Suarez. When you think, oh, national wrestler, you think Suarez, and you're like, dang, this girl's going to come out, land doubles, ground and pound. No. Rosa stands away from you, throws a good jab out there, doesn't follow it with a mean right, but she keeps her head straight up, moves straight back and forth. Her defenses her defending of the takedown's good, but like Sam Alvey, she just doesn't have a lot of output. Against Kasem, she's perfect 5-0. She's the local. She's beat 0-0 fighters. She last beat Alex Chambers, who's no longer in the UFC, a year, 2 months ago. I watched that fight. Do yourselves a favor, fans. Don't go watch that fight, because that was also one that I was like, woo! How are these ladies fighting?
187 on the motherfucking club.
How are they got a contract in here? It is a weak division, and she's a looker. I like Kasem. She's nice to look at, but
it's Casey Kasem's daughter.
I did not know that. That's a good fact. That's a good fact.
I made it up.
I figured it's figured.
But if you look up that story, Casey Kasem's family...
Yeah.
And how long his body stayed out of the ground. It might still be out of the ground, motherfucking now.
Really?
Yeah, like his family fought about it. No, he died forever ago. And his family, like his real daughter and then like his second or third wife, they fought about where to bury him. I don't know. That's probably a weird story to look up.
That's better of whatever I was looking up in these fights, because I was like, this is trash. I'm watching
You're like, tell me about Casey Kasem's body.
Yeah, what else about Casey Kasem's wife? So, Nadia Kasem, really limited striking, limited ground game, gets tired. On the ground, she went for a lot of submissions off of her back. Alex Chambers took her down after knee surgery, and it wasn't that Alex Chambers took her down. It was more Alex Chambers fell on top and then rolled to get on top of Nadia, where someone with any type of wrestling, which is Rosa, will be able to land on top consistently, if not get back there. Doesn't have to worry about the submissions, because Kasem half-assed throws the submissions up there. Over a year, she could have got a lot better at that, but Alexis Chambers fought off deep submissions very easily. A lot could have changed for the young fighter, for both of these fighters at 23 years old.
Both
don't really see what we're getting, but I'm going to go with the American wrestler, but I'm going to say stay so far away from this fight. The winner gets 25 points in this fight. Maybe there's a finish, and if there is a finish, it's Rosa's. I don't see Kasem finishing, but I'm saying don't cash on that. There's no way I'm putting any money for 8,800 for the heavy favorite.
The only way I'm going to disagree with you.
Go ahead.
Is put it somewhere if you're playing the televised DraftKings.
Oh, that's a good call.
Rosa might be your play that really nobody else plays. Everyone's going to have Kasem on this, I feel like, by the time fight night comes around, because you're going to have a bunch of newbies that play televised that are just looking for something to bet last minute. So they're going to pick Kasem because she's going to be a favorite, and they're looking at her record. But if they look just like one layer, one onion peel into her record, everyone she's fought has 0-0 record. Like, she beat me.
Yeah.
And now she's on here.
Yeah. And she barely beat you.
Yeah.
I watched some of those fights. Like, she outlasted women that walked in with, they still had a beer. They're like, let me put my beer down. All right, let's go. Like, it was unbelievable.
And I believe that she may have gotten tons better. They're both young. I think evolution of not just the sport, but of people in general. So they're just learning things leaps and bounds quicker. The coaching's getting better. The UFC is getting more and more dense. There's more and more places to find it. All that being said, De La Rosa, American wrestling, I think she can submit her by round 2. I don't really know what Kasem's going to have at all once she's taken down. So as long as De La Rosa can withstand an onslaught, I think you can put De La Rosa in some places. I think she can submit her.
The scary thing that I see happening here is that both of these ladies have very rudimentary striking, and they're both very hesitant. They both kind of like go in almost like street fight where they like pull their heads back, where I could see Kasem knocking down Rosas. But if this gets to the ground, Rosas should have everything to be able to get back and win.
I just want to say a small thing.
Yes.
And you never have ever heard us say it here. The only person that De La Rosa's lost to was a champion.
No, not my champion.
Nico Montano.
Not my champion. That's horrible. That's horrible. So 8,800 on DraftKings. Are you going to put her anywhere for 7,400 on Kasem? 8-4 for the favorite.
Only on maybe the televised cards, but I'm going to stay far, far away from her. I think you're totally right. I don't know if it's risky. For me, I don't know about these fighters. You know what I mean?
Just your general card, not your televised. Just your general card, Crute or Rosa, you're about Crute ever.
But I feel like I might go De La Rosa over the first fight of the night.
I honestly feel comfortable with that too. I think that's a good call. I don't think
De La Rosa, but that is not the hill you want to die on.
For reals.
Yeah.
But then we go to one with a little more.
You might forget you got the pay-per-view at the end of this fight. You might be
like,
cleaning dishes and just someone might be like, the mics are back on! And you're going to be like, I never thought I'd say this, that I'm excited to watch Hani Yaya versus Ricky Simone.
At 135 pounds, we're going to have a grappler's delight. Amongst us, we have Hani Yaya coming in with a 26-9 record against 14-1 Ricky Hamon. Ricky's coming in, winning against Montel Jackson decision 5 months ago as an underdog, beating Maraj Dakishvili as an underdog via guillotine choke. He also was he was losing that fight by far, right? That was where Dakishvili was pedaling his feet and went out and even said he was up. But Simone's really overperformed as much as you can overperform as an underperformer, because even in the Montel Jackson fight, which Jackson got tired and he actually sat down. This is how we do it. Ricky Simone got picked apart by Dakishvili, and Simone has serviceable striking, good head movement, good ground game, good cardio. His game plan, though, what I see Ricky Simone do best in there is he'll throw 1 and 2 punches to get the double underhooks, get you to the ground, get on top, and start to ride you out, land ground and pound from the top. And he really uses his wrestling to get through most of his bouts. He likes to strike. He says he likes to strike, but don't be fooled. He ain't no striker. He's a wrestler with a guillotine. His guillotine's gotten him really far, but against Hani Yaya, a black belt world champion. Hani Yaya's been in there multiple times and been losing the exact same way Ricky Hamon has, and gotten a submission in the last few seconds. His last loss as of late has been the Joe Soto decision, and the reason Joe Soto was able to beat Hani Yaya is because Joe Soto is a legit black belt as well, and was able to defend all of the shots and takedowns and just keep it standing and win a striking bout, and that's what Ricky Simone needs to do. I just think that Ricky, just like, not that Mike Perry's a wrestler, but how Mike Perry was like, we practiced a lot of wrestling, so I reactionally shot. I feel like Ricky Simone's going to do that. If at any time they get into a weird scramble, out of both fighters, the guy who's going to just swing a crazy overhand left and shoot for a double leg, Ricky Simone. And if he does that at any point in time, Yaya off of his back is just as dangerous.
He gonna snatch that neck.
Exactly.
He gonna snatch that leg. He gonna snatch that ankle and twist it into hey.
Exactly. And Yaya as of late has really gotten away from his striking. He's done that Damian Maia route where he's one of these guys that turned into a striker, started losing a bunch of bouts because he kept losing decisions, he has 3 takedowns that Hani Yaya now uses religiously, and it works because he doesn't even try to strike anymore. So I think that...
What 3 takedowns?
He uses an outside trip, a single leg, and I feel like he'll switch a single to a double and actually power it forward. He used to flop and try that like Iminari roll stuff, but I feel like he started to realize, like, I think Damian Maia might have literally told him, like, don't go for that garbage shit. Like,
are they actually on the same team?
No, they're not on the same team. They're just both Brazilians. But I really do think that Hani Yaya is mimicking Damian Maia. I'm not getting that out of nowhere. I think that he learned, like a lot, we say with all these other guys, Yaya's a smart guy. And he's like, why am I striking with these guys? I'm a champion on the ground. I think this is submission. Round number 1 or 2, I got Yaya. I'm going to put him in a lot of spots if I can. I think, again, Simone's not going to be thinking and all of a sudden say, oh, I didn't realize I shot, and all of a sudden my neck was gone. Who do you have in this fight?
I agree with you, and I even think, I cannot even believe I'm ever going to say this. Yaya has the better hands here. It's kind of crazy to say. I think Ricky Simone isn't UFC caliber, and this is a padded record, and I think he's a favorite right now. And if you're a bettor, go on right now why Hani Yaya is the underdog, because he's plus 110 right now, and put him on some parlays, because I think he's just fine in this fight. I have him submission round 1 as well. All that being said, I'm not going to put him everywhere. I think I'm going to put him everywhere on my televised cards. Everywhere. Other than that, I might have him like on my prelims, 30% of the cards.
Interesting. That low. I would have thought a little higher than that. Because I do like Yaya in this spot. I actually am picking him straight out. But I love everything you're saying. 8,200.
I do too. I agree with you. I think put Yaya on more.
I was going to say like 60-70%.
Yeah, the Ricky Simone right now being the favorite is insane.
I agree with that totally. But were you saying the Simone, who's his management? Was he in there with those names?
Oh, I don't know. But I'm going to find out what you're talking about. Anything else?
So, just on that, 8,000 for Hani Yaya on DraftKings. So you're $200 cheaper than Simone. I'm going to see myself putting Yaya on a lot of spots there. Not everywhere, because it's still a close fight. That anti-wrestling could make it a little bit closer, but I like everything I'm seeing in Yaya. By the way, the Bean is officially given out. This might be my only free bet because I don't see many underdogs that I really like. But Hani Yaya as a plus money, that's my free bet right now. Don't expect another random one to come out because it's hard on this card. It's really hard on this card to be picking underdogs outright. So this is one that we both have comfortably. Then we go to the co-main event of the night. The reason you're paying your $69.99 for your HD to watch Anderson, the Spider, Silva come in against Israel Adesanya. The style bender is the new breed against the former champion, old legend at 185 pounds, Anderson. The Spider, 34-8 record for the Spider against 15-0 Adesanya. Adesanya's come in trailblazing in the UFC, won every single one of his fights.
I don't see him. He doesn't come up.
Okay, then I was wrong. It was probably Borg I was thinking of. They look alike. They do look alike. But Adesanya coming in and winning most of his fights via knockout, getting a split decision over Vettori in there. Probably the hardest wrestling match he's had as of late. But against the Spider, he doesn't have to worry about any takedowns. We know what Anderson likes to do. He's a striker through and through. Throws those kicks up the middle. Throws a lot of punches over the top. Serviceable gas tank. This is a 3-rounder, so we're not going to have to worry about anything too crazy. This is actually really interesting. They both have a shared win as of late against Derek Brunson. Israel Adesanya just finished Derek Brunson 3 months ago. And Anderson Silva last defeated Derek Brunson in a controversial decision a year 11 months ago. And I agree, Derek Brunson won that fight. But Anderson Silva has taken a year 11 months off.
But Anderson Silva won that decision against Daniel Cormier.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. It was like crickets.
But who was it? Bisping. Did he also beat Bisping? Was that like
No,
his only
he
other
lost
win?
to both of them.
Oh, he did lose to Bisping, but he knocked him out. So, Anderson Silva, we know what we're getting with him. He's not changing. He's going to be in there who's making all of his money at 43 years old just off of his name. I don't expect Anderson Silva to win in there, but I don't necessarily see him getting demolished in there. The fact that the line is plus 475 or minus 650 for Adesanya, that's crazy. Adesanya should not be a 7-1 favorite. There's guys that are debuting that should be 7-1 favorites other than this fight. I mean, yes, do I think Adesanya should win this fairly handedly? He's the better striker. I don't know about grappler. Anderson Silva, though, on the ground has good triangles. You could catch him on the ground. I just see this staying standing for both of these guys. The craftier fighter is Adesanya, but Anderson Silva is one of these motherfuckers that'll throw a shot after the bell and knock your ass out. He's one of those guys that'll grab the fence, kick you in the dick, poke you in the eye, grease himself. Anderson Silva knows how to win. He knows how to get split decisions to favor or not favor him. Anderson Silva is a legend in there, and I just see it's completely disrespectful for the odds to be this big a favor. Anderson Silva has the tools in his arsenal to land a one-hitter quitter. Not that I'm banking on it, but there's guys that don't have that ability against Adesanya that weren't this big of an underdog.
All that's true, except that Anderson Silva is 157 years old.
Yeah, Brazilian. It is that Brazilian.
He might be the oldest guy
certificate
in the whole UFC. It is unbelievable how old he is. And Israel Adesanya is one of the faster guys right now in the division, and that really worries me. I think Israel Adesanya is a smart guy. I think he studied Anderson Silva maybe more than any other fighter. He called this fight out. That is a very dangerous place for Anderson Silva to be. This is the smartest play I've ever seen the UFC do in so long, because for all, we keep saying it's a weak card, but casual fans are what make the UFC numbers bump. It's never the hardcore. The hardcore 300,000 are there, whether or not, it doesn't even matter. We're like, give us whatever, we're there. So Anderson Silva's a guy that it might be really interesting to see after the numbers. Is he still pulling 800,000 worldwide? Is he still pulling 600,000, which are good numbers nowadays? So also Bobby Knuckles, who I think is a star, but I think Anderson is the star on this card.
Oh, 1,000,000% agreed.
So that being said, if everything Stylebender says is true, and he is this, if John Jones and Anderson Silva had a baby, which is kind of like what the last Stylebender is, in my opinion. If he comes out and he has a personality where he's he's not even raunchy like a Conor McGregor. He's actually a very smooth, smart kid, and it's almost like he has a Michael Bisping personality.
He pee in the ring?
I loved it, and then everybody wanted to do it after.
He's peeing in the damn ring.
But it wasn't savage. Really. He lifted his leg on the corner to mark his territory. I think he's funny. I think he goes with video games. He always has something he does afterward that's either like Stylebender E. I just think he's super smart. I think he's really respectful. I think he's gonna be respectful afterwards. I think the way you get Anderson Silva's respect is by waking him up with a kiss. I think Anderson Silva's gonna be asleep. Stylebender will give him the respect he deserves. Anderson Silva won't mind passing the torch.
Sure.
And I think it's so smart of the UFC, because all the casuals tuning in will see the last Stylebender for the first time and
take
hopefully
that shine.
Come on board.
Yep.
Come on board. And, maybe they're doing everything right here. And as much as I want to say, I'd like to see Anderson Silva retire, I don't know if I'm ever going to see Anderson Silva retire in my lifetime.
When you get that type of checks, it's hard.
I can't even imagine. I think he is a big star. I think he's a huge star. We know he's probably grandfathered in on some old-ass contracts.
He's in the Hall of Fame, guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Some people call him the GOAT. Some people,
still,
he's in the top 5, regardless.
He ain't no Lobov, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but unarguably, regardless of who you are as a UFC fan, usually Anderson Silva's top 10.
Well, he still has records in top 3 all over the UFC. His name is still, and he's an active fighter. So he's going to add to that with strike differentials, ratings, and stuff.
It shouldn't be this big of an underdog. But I have Adesanya. I think he's going to respect Anderson Silva up to the point that he puts in all the calculation of Anderson Silva into his brain, and kind of like the John Jones DC fight number 2, where it was like the head kick KO, and the round 2 of the second, it was like he calculated it. He had it all perfect to set up that head kick. I think we're going to see kind of something like that with Adesanya. He might even kick that nasty ass broken leg. That nasty old leg.
I would
KO round 2.
even say I'm going to have a decision for Adesanya, but 9,600 for Adesanya.
Woo!
I don't know how much I'm going to play that. 8 for 6,600. Anderson Silva. I'm going to get a little dirty here, and I'm going to say Anderson Silva, that throwaway card that I've talked about before, where you put on these close matches, you just put the opposite, just in case. You put that Ishihara, that Anderson Silva type of stuff. Maybe those two, or maybe one of those with a bunch of other fights.
I disagree.
All right.
I disagree. Look,
You
and
think Silva
I wouldn't put Silva anywhere.
Anywhere.
I think Silva's
I think he
done,
can give a decision, though. I don't think he gets finished for 6-6.
I think the best thing you said about Anderson, which I totally agree with, him's collecting checks. Him's collecting checks.
Maybe you gotta listen to Lesbo here. Maybe she's trying to tell me something.
Yeah, I don't know.
What did you try to tell me? I can't understand. What you saying? Don't pick Anderson Silva.
Don't do it.
But one fight we're going to definitely be picking one of the guys in nonstop, either of the fighters in your main event on the televised or regular card, is going to be Robert Bobby Knuckles Whittaker versus Kelvin Fatboy Gastelum. Gastelum coming off of a 2-fight winning streak, being 16-3 at 185 pounds. Bobby Knuckles being the defending 20-4 world champion, beating Yoel Romero twice, beating Souza, Brunson, Natal. Well, Souza and Romero, definitely high caliber guys. Other guys, if so. Kelvin Gastelum winning the title contender bout against Jacare Souza, winning a split decision. That was incredibly close, but Jacare Souza, only being 1,001 years old, barely under Anderson Silva there, and for Yoel Romero that amount, these guys are all over 40. The fact that these youngs are beating them is just kind of like, it's starting to kind of make sense. Kelvin Gastelum, 27 years old. Bobby Knuckles, 28 years old. It's just it's that changing of the guard. And at 185, this also plays into Adesanya immediately being on the next pay-per-view with this 185er, depending on who wins, because it sets up, I just see them easily setting up other fights later on down the line. Either way, back to the fights.
You know what? He answered something for us real quick.
Yes.
Why everybody had the whole argument. Why not Chris Weidman? Chris Weidman beat Gastelum. Why not?
True, that's what I keep saying.
And we unwillingly, even without thinking about it, answered it for ourselves earlier by reading off Ali Abdelaziz's list. And who was one of his fighters?
Kelvin Fatboy Gastelum. Kelvin, my bad.
On the heat scale. Okay, go on.
So, Kelvin is a boxer, wrestler, with good ground and pound, great takedown defense. On the ground, started to see him get a little exposed. It did take a Sarah-level black belt in Chris Weidman to really show that Kelvin Gastelum really only uses a few tricks, and it tends to be that fat man's roll over to the side, and then he falls in a side control, gets on top, uses his cardio, which is unnatural. Everything I've ever heard from Kelvin Gastelum's training partners, everyone has said Kelvin Gastelum doesn't get sweaty at the end of practices. Everybody. But we've seen him go 5 rounds to win the contender or the tough house, to win multiple other fights. We've seen Kelvin Gastelum have that fight ability. Kelvin have that fight ability and be able to use his boxing to keep him in a fight, and his anti-wrestling to keep it where he wants it, which is serviceable striking. Kelvin throws one of the best 1-2s in the game. It's a jab straight right, and he'll double and triple it up, where he'll just throw that exact combination. But it's perfect. And if something's perfect, then you can't stop it. You can't stop it. But he's going to have somebody who keeps their head on a swivel. Somebody who uses a very good karate stance, who's really started to use those oblique kicks against Yoel Romero, which in this fight, if those come about, Kelvin is going to have even harder of a time to get his boxing range in there. And I think that's the ripples that Bobby Knuckles adds, where Kelvin has more harnessed his ability to become a anti-wrestler and a striker and not really focused on his grappling, where Bobby Knuckles gets better everywhere. We haven't seen him on the ground as much, but he does shoot takedowns. He gets on top of you. I'm not worried about that here because I feel like it would probably be reactionary if either one of these guys is hurt. Both of these guys land hard at 185 pounds. Either one can be rocked. But Kelvin right now, I just think has less dimensions than Bobby Knuckles, as well as I don't think the gas tank's going to affect either fighter at 5 rounds. I think they're both going to put in a great showing here. Bobby Knuckles coming off some surgeries. We've seen them happen before, so I'm not too worried about that. I think that this stays a striking bout, ends up going off 5 rounds, and in a striking bout, I see Knuckles using the leg strikes to keep this fight where he wants it in range, which is just going to be outside the range in Kelvin Gastelum. But you got to worry about that left hook for Gastelum. He throws it well, and that 1-2 right. But other than those 3 punches, which is really 2 combinations that he throws, he's kind of readable to me. I feel like Kelvin Gastelum beats his guys with a lot of will in that Souza and the other fighter he had in there. But when you out-technique Kelvin, you can beat him. And I think Knuckle has everything in there to be able to out-technique him. I have the decided -250 favorite, Robert Whittaker, to retain his belt against Kelvin Gastelum. Who do you have in this bout and why?
Oh, I just think Yoel is a little better than Kelvin everywhere. So the going in, 30 or not even 20, 50 minutes with Yoel Romero, your last 2 fights in the octagon, and now you're going to go in with the little less version. Can Kelvin catch Robert? Yes. And Whittaker gets hurt in every single fight. But guess what? Broken foot, broken hand, broken whatever. He fights through and still wins by a decision. I think as the fight goes on, if you want to take the decision factor, it's almost like something I want to close in with that we start doing with fights is who do I see winning by decision here? It's easy for me to see Bobby Knuckles winning by decision here. I think round 1 or 2, Kelvin's dangerous. He has a shit ton of power and he's coming at a direction which for normal fighters, I'd be like, this is very scary, the direction that he's coming being lower like that. It's how he gets all his power going upward. But Robert just fought freaking Yoel Romero,
Agreed.
Who's this short, compact guy that just comes up at him in the same way. I do like Kelvin's hands. That's the better thing that I think he has here. And I also think he has great wrestling, but I'm not worried about Bobby Knuckles wrestling because we just saw him against Yoel Romero for that amount of time. So it's not that he's going to wrestle. It's not that he's going to attempt any kind of submissions. It's just that he is so amazing at using the wrestler's weight against them and rolling right out of whatever submission attempt is done. So I think we might see that a couple of times. But I don't see Kelvin trying to get in the inside at all. Or when he does, I just don't see his cardio being good enough to stay competitive for 5 rounds with Robert Whittaker. Every minute that ticks on, Robert Whittaker will want to run away with this fight. Leg kicks, it is something that I didn't even think of and how dangerous. I could see him getting finished that way. I think I could see the whole fight, just how stout, heavy on his front leg Kelvin is.
Exactly,
I
he
could
does.
see a
He
lot
boxes
of what
very
you're
boxing.
saying. I could see him kicking out that front leg and then, I got Bobby Knuckles everywhere. The more I talk, the more I just want to keep moving up the rounds. I'm going to make it 3 right now. That's gone from Whittaker KO round 5, I thought he'd figure out. But it's not because I'm not giving Kelvin credit. I just don't love Kelvin in this weight class. I really hope that this makes him get it under control. I think the guy's an awesome. Not only would he be a hell of a 170er, if he really could get his weight under control and make it to 165, he's a champion all day. I love Kelvin Gastelum. I just think Bobby Knuckles is on his tear. Put him everywhere. The guy is money.
8,900 on DraftKings for the favorite champion, Robert Whittaker, against Gastelum, 7,300. I see more of a decision coming out. I don't see a direct finish, but I do see it being one-sided. So, Knuckles under 9,000, 5-rounder. I see, again, as you're saying, 85% ownership in those DraftKings. Televised and not. Doesn't matter.
I could see a head kick finish, leg kick finish. But
he
I
has
like
that type of ceiling. He has that ceiling where I actually don't mind. For 5 rounders in a decision, Gastelum for 7-3 isn't a horrible play either. I could even see you stacking on the televised card this 5 rounder if it goes to decision, because I feel like Gastelum can get a serviceable 40 points potentially in there, 40, 50 points. But
Robert
out
gets
of the
hurt.
two,
I think what you were saying about Anderson Silva, the same could be said about Kelvin Gastelum. If you want to sneak one card separate, don't put like, let me make a whole underdog card because like Kelvin will come through and then Anderson and Ishihara will shit the bed. Like put them all 3 on separate cards.
Good call.
But I think Kelvin is a guy. Put him on one. Like he's not.
he doesn't ever
he has
get
a great
fully
chin.
outclassed.
He is, I mean, the guy's been around forever. The amount of fights he had. These are 2 young guys to be as seasoned as they are.
Could this be a fight of the year contender?
It sure could.
It really could.
Sure
it
could.
really, really could. I'm excited for this one. Unfortunately,
and I won't be mad if either guy wins. I
agree.
Will not be upset. I really love both fighters going forward so much. So, I don't know. Take that for what it's worth, everyone.
We got a good one. Be sure you're liking and subscribing.
2, 3, 4. The one thing I'll say.
There's
like
money.
and subscribe. We love you. All that. 2, 3, 4 definitely won't be as good as 2, 3, 3. But you might want to check it out anyway.
You might want to look it out. Lesbo and The Bean!
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and The Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.